Hey there, hope you're doing good. Let's continue with our refactoring of Futurecam. For those of you who are new, Futurecam is a computational photography app I used to run. The startup failed because of user acquisition and marketing and business reasons. We are going to look at the code with the benefit of hindsight to see what we can do better. And this is Swift code, but the principles I'm going to illustrate apply to all stacks. So this is our to-do list of work items. We'll be looking at this task, fix booleans. First is search for double equal to true. Typically, you don't need to compare booleans this way. It's also more readable this way. Verify that it is in progress. Is captured improperly is a double negative, and you don't want variables that are phrased negatively. It's not a double negative, it's a negative. But when you set it to false, it becomes double negative. So if it is not captured improperly, then it must be captured properly. You don't want to do that. So now there are two ways you can fix the negative name in the boolean. One is you can change the name. But suppose you have an API or a public function that many functions invoke. Now you have to change all those call sites. So the other alternative is to change the name instead of changing the value. So instead of is captured improperly, you would say was mistake made in capturing or something like that. Now it's not a negative, but the values don't need to change. In this case, we'll go the other route. We'll change this. Set to true. Improperly is true, which means properly is false. This is odd code. You don't need to go through this. We will keep that to do. Normally, you have to check for greater than equal to, but since this is a float, that's 5 seconds. So it's unlikely that a video is recorded for 5.00 seconds. If it is captured longer, return false. Otherwise, return true. Let's look at the diff view to see if we made a mistake. So what was it doing earlier? If not captured improperly, if it is false, then you are doing some work. When is it false? If this branch is not taken, the initial value. When is this not taken? If it is greater than equal to or greater than whatever. So now you are just returning. Return is captured improperly. Okay, so let's check the return value. Should it be false and true or true and false? What is it? See, this again needs documentation. Bool it doesn't return a bool if the user captured properly. It returns true if the user captured properly. It always returns a bool. So I think this should return true if it has captured properly, and that's what it does. No, this returns true if it was captured improperly. The earlier code. This is odd. Let's look at the other functions here. Again, comment should end with punctuation, like a period. You're ignoring the return value. Yes. Yeah, burst is the only exception. It doesn't have a notion of proper and improper capture. But other modes have a requirement. For example, light trails are captured only at night. If you capture it in day, it returns false. You didn't capture it. Long exposure mode requires a tripod. If you don't use it, you're not captured properly. So this, if you look at the call site, it matches what it says. So far, so good. Now, are the actual return values correct? So you can see when you try to refactor, you end up looking at the bigger picture. Oops, it's a power bank thing. This is always false. Show power bank hint. Okay. Yeah, it says plug in a power bank and turn on airplane mode so that recording isn't interrupted. Okay, great. That's what it shows, unless it is charging. And it doesn't return a bool because you shouldn't have to. And when does it show? If it is recording, it stops. This code is so overloaded. You have functions doing multiple things. It's hard to understand. So one thing you can see is if you have a function that takes a whole bunch of flags and works in different ways, that's a bad coding practice. So let's do this. Let's just evaluate this diff without thinking about the bigger picture. Whether it's right or wrong, the refact, if it is wrong, it will continue to be wrong. If it is right, it will continue to be right. That's the job of a refactoring. Other things we will look at later. So let's revisit this logic. It shows a message if this is false, which means if it hasn't come here, which means greater than equal to Yeah, it should be less than. We'll get to the return values soon. So if it is less than, you're setting it to true. Because it is true. If not true is false, this doesn't run. Then you are returning true. Like, don't ask me whether this is logically correct or not. I'm just making sure the meaning hasn't changed. I always find it confusing to invert booleans. Let's try this. I don't know if it's a good or a bad idea. Now let's look at the. Here you are not changing the true false. It's much easier to verify. This can't possibly go wrong. We are done with this. Now the other thing we should look at is, yeah, we should create a work item for show power banking. So now we'll get to it later on. The other thing I wanted to check quickly is sometimes using booleans is confusing. Oops. Because you don't know what true means. So I just want to make sure that we are using it. So for example, if you are working at an e-commerce site and you have a bool that says is express delivery. If it is false, what does it mean? Often it's better to use an enum with two values, standard, comma, express. So even though there are only two, this is cleaner. Can't be my machine because this is running on the cloud. This is clear. If it is true, it means a mistake was made. If it is false, it means a mistake was not made. Yeah, I think these are all clear. Is too dark. If it is false, it's bright. At least bright enough. Need not be daytime. Yeah, I think this is fine. So so we are done with this task. So I'll kind of pause this video here, create one more so that the videos are self-contained. See you in the next video.